like we're ready for our third recipe. And we always end with something sweet. And our last recipe is a date and clementine pudding cake. And yes, cake can be part of a healthy diet. As I was mentioning earlier, it's one of the biggest food fears we hear about is sugar feeding cancer. And it not only instills fear in people, I find that there's also a lot of shame and blame and guilt around it as well, whether it's on the person themselves or family or caregivers. So the fact is that all our cells, not just cancer cells, need sugar for energy, okay, and for brain health. And so if we avoid all foods that have sugar in it, natural or not, then our body, our muscle and fat stores start to break down to form that sugar to feed the rest of the body. So by breaking down our muscle and fat stores, then we are actually starving our normal cells from important nutrients. So the idea comes to balance and moderation. It also comes to understanding the different types of sugars, because often we hear, oh, I can't have fruit because that has sugar in it. But natural sugars found in whole grains, like our corn tortillas today, our vegetables, our dried peas and beans, like the peas that we used here, nuts and seeds, the dates, the clementines that we're using in this recipe are all examples of foods that are packed with nutrients and contain healthy amounts of sugar in the form of something called complex carbohydrates, right? And these complex carbohydrates, if you just think of the word complex, it means it's harder to digest. So it takes longer to digest, takes longer to absorb. And because of that, then our blood sugar levels are regulated. They're managed a bit better. Our insulin levels are managed a bit better. And it gives us more control over our health. Simple sugars, which we are also using in this recipe, we don't have to avoid it. Simple sugars are like white or brown sugar, maple syrup, honey. I believe we're using maple syrup in this recipe. They are digested quickly. They do cause blood sugars to rise and fall quickly. But if used in small amounts, if you're controlling it, like in this recipe, if you're combining it with foods that have fiber in it or protein, then you slow down the digestion and you slow down that rise and fall of blood sugar. So as long as our diet is mostly, following Canada's food guide, where you have lots of fruits and vegetables, your whole grains, your plant proteins, some meats, some dairy, then it's okay to have a little bit of a dessert, a small piece of cake.
Yes. Or
which
pudding.
we would be doing today. Or pudding.
Cake.
Cake.
The reason I put both in is with our friends across the pond in the UK, pudding there means something a little bit different than pudding here. So we're thinking pudding here as like a soft sort of custardy dessert, whereas there it's almost like this really nice sort of moist cake. So that's what we're making. I love it. It's one of my favorites. And this sort of spiced version using clementines and dates is super aromatic, super flavorful as well. I think we need stock broth.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was wondering.
Yeah. So first thing that we're going to do is create sort of a wet mixture. So I have a cup of dates soaked in a cup of hot water. You use boiling water from a kettle. Just soak it, and that way it becomes like super, super soft. These are pitted dates. Make sure you either remove the pits or get pitted dates. Otherwise, it'll be very loud in the blender. And so it's nice and soft at this point. The liquid has cooled down as well, which will make the blending a little bit easier. So I'm going to add all of this in, so the dates and that water all in here.
What kind of dates are they?
These are just honey dates. You can use any dates. The medjool ones are really nice and tasty. They're also really expensive. So for a dessert like this, I think the honey dates
will work well.
Yeah. So our cup of dates, cup of water in there. Then we're going to go with any citrus will work. Clementines, tangerines, oranges. This is the season for citrus. This is the best time that you're going to get citrus is throughout the winter. We don't think of citrus as a winter fruit, but it is a winter fruit for us anyways. And so this you'll have the most variety during this time, and best quality as well. So same as the other recipe, I want the zest. I want that really, really nice punch of that clementine in here. And so the zest is going to be almost the most important part. I'm adding the juice as well. But as it cooks, the flavor from the juice will sort of become lost. It'll be in the background, it'll be there. But if you really want that sort of orange note, then the zest is what you need. And so again, using that rasp just to remove the very outside. I'll do it with both.
Almost.
We have some hidden cabinets opening on their own.
I don't remember that happening.
Yeah.
Why is the rasp so long? I assume you're only using the handle, but the thing is
So it's funny. I think the idea of the rasp
the
came.
Sorry, the question was, why is the rasp so long?
So long, yes. Sorry, yes. I'm 30 feet too. I forgot that. It came from like a woodworking tool to sort of shave wood down. I don't know if they changed much of it. You could probably buy shorter ones, but depending on the way you use it, you might need to use you want to use the whole stroke. I don't. I just use just the very bottom. That is a good question. So I don't know if they modified the design much for its initial intended purpose.
I do like some of the longer ones because I'll sit it over the bowl.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of do it this way because I'm the clumsy one in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So I find sometimes the longer ones you can hook it over the bowl, but I don't think that was the reason.
It could be. Could be. Yeah. Whatever gives you more control, whatever feels most comfortable, for sure. All right. So a little bit of that zest from the citrus. I can see that there are seeds in here. So I'm looking for. See if I have a sieve. You know what you're doing, everyone. Yes, question.
I have a question about working with citrus zest. I often see in recipes it'll be like, try to use a non-waxed lemon, like wax on citrus. Is that something you're concerned about, or trying to remove, or just in such small quantities it doesn't matter?
Yeah. So repeat the question is what I missed saying for our audience. So whether to use a waxed or non-waxed citrus for zest. I think it could be from the UK, because I see it in a lot of recipes from the UK where some of their citrus might be waxed. I don't find that we have that issue here, but I would just wash it really well if you're going to use the outside.
Maybe even use like a little scrub brush.
Yeah, a little scrub brush, just to scrub it. But that's pretty much all I would do here to prepare for that. Yeah.
Good question.
Very good question.
Yeah.
I feel like I've definitely tried to scrub under
Yeah.
fire, and I don't see or notice anything.
Yeah, we have some waxed vegetables here, root vegetables you'll find, sometimes rutabaga, some of the turnips will wax. We don't get that as much with the citrus, but just wash it really well. Yeah. So the juice in here, if there are any seeds, remove the seeds, which I did. If not, they're going to get blended up anyways. I'm not too bothered. All right. So, citrus in. Any spices? I have some ground ginger, ground cinnamon, which I love. That's going in as well. I'm going to add a quarter cup of olive oil. Yeah. In here, that is some of our fat. I'm going to add a little bit of maple syrup. This is where you can adjust, right? And you can control the sweetness. The dates are going to give us a little bit of sweetness. This is a bigger cake, so it's not going to provide a ton of sweetness. And I like the flavor of the maple. So you can go a couple tablespoons.
Very Canadian.
Very Canadian, yeah. And a couple eggs. If your soaking liquid of the dates is still hot, don't add the eggs. It'll start to scramble, and that's going to taste weird. So we'll make sure it's cool before we add the eggs in. By doing this, if I'm blending the dates anyways, I don't know at this point. That way it saves me from having to whisk it. Lid on. Make sure it's plugged in. Step 1. Plug in your appliance. Step 2, you can make it face you. Just blend until the dates are cooked in. Because we've soaked the dates, it should be pretty quick. And that's good. Even if I have a few little pieces, that texture will actually be really nice.
Is this later?
That's later. Yeah.
That's later.
All right. So we have our wet mixture. For our dry mixture, 1.5 cups of flour. The flour is up to you. If we're looking to add more fiber, go for like a whole wheat flour. If you don't do so great with fiber, you can use like an all-purpose flour as well, or you can do a blend. It's completely up to you.
Because you're getting some good fiber from the dates already and the chestnuts.
Yeah.
There's a question at the back.
I just want to piggyback on Kyla's question about the use of the rind
Yes.
and how concerned am I about the dirty dozen. I'm like super paranoid about fruit, like those fruits and soaking them, all this kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So pesticides and cancer and should we use organic? Should we not? For
Great question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the question is about using the rind of the oranges. Concerned about like the environmental group that put out the dirty dozen. That's probably one of them. What did I catch it all?
Pesticides.
And pesticides. Okay. So when it comes to organic or non-organic, let me first address the dirty dozen. So the dirty dozen is from an environmental working group. It's not science-based. It's also American. So I kind of beg to differ when they put out that list of the dirty dozen and whether you can actually say these foods are the worst foods you can have. When it comes to pesticides and cancer, it's more related to people that work with pesticides, that are exposed to large amounts of pesticides. But that also doesn't make many of us feel the greatest. The amount of pesticides that are used in making foods now or on farms is a lot less. It's quite a lot less. And if you look at Health Canada or the Canadian Food Inspection Agency, they'll tell you that the amounts are very low, almost similar to organic farms. So there's that. But again, you still have that choice if you want to use organic or not. Washing with running cold running water is the best thing, so you don't have it sit there. We talked about that little scrub brush. So I don't know if that helps to alleviate some of the concerns. And then there's another question here.
Yeah.
Sorry, just about the pesticides, like in Canada, they use like low amounts, but so much of our produce is imported, especially in winter, so is that, it's.
So that's a good question. So we say in Canada, I mean, there's groups around the world that are working to cut back on the pesticides. But yeah, it is a little harder to determine what is imported. So then it comes back to washing well, cold running water, making your decisions about what you're going to use and what you're concerned about. We also talk about, going local if you can. I know it's hard in Canada, right? In the middle of the winter, where are you going to go? But as often as you can, purchasing local produce, farmers markets, that kind of thing. Just do the best you can.
Yeah.
When it comes down to cancer prevention, they talk about how having your increased intake of fruits and vegetables and getting the nutrients and fiber from those really outweighs our concern about pesticides. So, I'll stop there.
Yeah, no, and we've actually done some work recently with Health Canada. They have some really good food safety guides. They have some guides on washing fruits and vegetables because that question comes up a lot. Like,
Yeah.
do we buy these special sprays or do I soak in vinegar? And cool running water is the recommendation.
That's what it comes back to.
If you have any root vegetables that have maybe a little bit some crevices or some dirt, getting like a scrubby, like a vegetable scrubby, can help. But otherwise, no need for like soaps and sprays.
Because that in itself leaves a residue.
Yeah. Okay, so wet ingredients. Yeah, question.
Question about our recipe. Can we substitute with oatmeal?
Oatmeal.
Oatmeal.
Can we substitute oatmeal for the
Oatmeal
flour?
as in like oat flour?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Remember that it won't have gluten in it to sort of give you that strength, that bond. So you're not going to get as much of a like fluffy rise out of it. It'll be a little more moist and dense, but it will work. Texturally, it'll just be a little bit different. Yeah, but it can be done as long as it's the flour version of the oats.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So 1.5 cups of flour, whatever type you want, our wet ingredients, and then I'm adding also a teaspoon of baking soda and baking powder each. That is also going to help with the fluffiness, with the rise, and a little pinch of salt. Okay. Little pinch of salt. We don't think of the salt in baked goods, but it does have a purpose, and it's going to help with the flavor as well.
Okay. So I was going to ask what the purpose was. Flavor? But more.
Flavor. It helps with a little bit of the chemistry of the baking as well, but that little bit of salt is going to really enhance the flavor of some of these other ingredients. So wet ingredients in. There was a question online, can we use blackstrap molasses? Yes, you can definitely use blackstrap molasses. Will have more of a traditional probably flavor to like the UK puddings. It is strong, so if you've never used it before, maybe use it to replace the maple syrup. But keep the dates as is, the date mixture as is, because it is pretty strong. All right, mix it all together, and you should have the consistency of like a pancake batter, almost like a thickened pancake batter. I don't want to over whisk. I just want to get through some of those clumps. Oh, nice. You have to zoom in.
I zoomed in. So we can watch you stir.
The most exciting part of the recipe, of course, the stirring. So just until, so you can see the consistency here. It should be wet enough that it falls off of the whisk, but almost like a really nice cake batter. You can use a baking dish, you can use a pan, anything. Just make sure you prep it. So I have a little bit of parchment on the bottom. You can even grease the sides up with a little bit of butter or oil. Doesn't have to be a springform pan. This is just what I had. And then we're going to go ahead and add the batter in to the pan. And
you don't need to do anything to the sides of the pan.
No.
You have the parchment
oh yeah,
on the
I
bottom.
a little bit of, so grease the sides. So add a little bit of oil or a little bit of butter to it, just so that it makes it a lot easier. Use a spatula to make sure you get all of it out.
Are people here getting hungry? A little bit.
Let it settle, and then if you want, what I like to do, you can top it with some like walnuts. I like to use vacuum packed chestnuts that they're already cooked and ready to go, and so you can sort of break them up.
It's a great way of adding some more fiber and protein. So we've got the eggs for protein. We've got some chestnuts. Yeah, we've got fiber. Did you use regular flour?
I use a mix.
A mix.
Yeah.
So we've got some fiber there. Yeah, the dates definitely have fiber.
And so these are already cooked, which is nice. So you can sort of just crush them up, roughly chop them. The different sizes actually makes it really, really special. And then that goes in the oven, 325 degrees.
Oops.
Little tilt.
I tilted too much.
So 325 for about an hour. Okay. So again, slow and low heat. And I'm not gonna make you wait an hour. We've made you wait
Ta-da.
enough.
Oh my gosh.
Our
Really?
really?
Wow.
Yeah, I know. So we have, and
Check
now
that out.
this is, I did double the recipe for this one because I figured we're gonna have some guests. This is a little bit bigger, but yeah, there you go. The key is, depending on the pan you use, depending on the thickness, just use like a little toothpick to go into the middle or a knife. It is supposed to be on the moister side. So you don't want like a batter, cold batter sticking to it. If it is a little sticky, that's okay. It's done, but otherwise it should come out mostly clean, okay, from the middle. So we're gonna do, I haven't cracked into it yet, so we'll see how it looks. Get our knife.
They'd like us to send them some.
Yeah,
They had to leave, so we haven't figured that out yet.
No.
We haven't figured out the smell-o-vision, and we haven't figured out the delivery, although, you know, maybe we can get into Uber deliveries. I don't know.
No ideas. You have to come here in person. All right. So, slice into this. Go from this angle. And see the chestnuts on the top, which look great.
I learned from Jeremy, I didn't realize this, that he dreams up the recipes, but then he doesn't really test them out
Until the day before. I think it
until
looks
the
pretty
day
good.
before.
Well, I thought you were gonna say.
Until-
not on us.
Yeah,
Yeah. You'll be the first.
Sometimes.
You'll be the first to try.
sometimes
Yeah.
that is the case.
So,
Oh my gosh, that is amazing.
it's
Super,
holding its
super
shape,
moist.
which is great. And what I like to do, so oftentimes I guess in the UK they'll serve it with, I believe it's the clotted cream.
Clotted cream.
It's hard to find that here. So I'm using yogurt, and I just added a little bit more of that tangerine zest to it. I'm gonna add a little bit of vanilla.
I know we passed the holidays, but it almost seems like something that
But
would
even
be
with-
great for the holidays, right?
Yeah. And even with the yogurt, you know, it's adding that really nice sort of creaminess to it. But you use
nice.
a high protein yogurt.
And we're
you get a
getting
little more
some
protein.
more protein there.
And,
So that's
as
how
well.
you can build in some nutrition into your desserts.
And there we go for those at home. You can see our final recipe. Clementine chestnut, no, what did I call it?
Date and clementine pudding cake.
There we go. Can't even remember. Thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you everyone for watching online. Reminder, if you're watching online, we'll be posting all the recipes from today on our website tomorrow with all the videos, all the nutrition facts, everything, so you can check that out. If you're here today, you have a copy of the recipe, and you get to try the food, which we'll be serving up shortly. It's the most exciting part.
February 20th.
February 20th is our next class. Again, reminder, third Thursday, every single month. Daniela and I are here. New recipes, new theme, and 12
Special
1.
guests.
We have special
guests
guests.
in February.
Special guests. Yeah, special guests. And you can go on our website to check it out to see what the next theme is. We usually post it on our YouTube channel as well. And that is it.
That's it.
Have a wonderful day. And if you're watching online, I'll answer a couple extra questions. But thanks everyone for joining us.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thanks.